Republicans really going at it with Secretary of State Antony Blinken. We're monitoring this developing story. It's still happening. The hearing is underway right now. It's going on. Afghanistan, that's the problem for the Republicans there. California Congressman Darrell Issa joins us with an update. Congressman, you were at the hearing today. Your reaction to the Secretary of State's testimony?
Well, Liz, many questions, few answers, and one in particular where in the statement, both in an email and from a website, the Secretary's people said that you should not count on the U.S. government to get you out of Afghanistan. He absolutely rebuked that, except we took it from his website and we received it in an email when we asked about help getting more of our American citizens out of Afghanistan. So this was just one of many cases in which this administration and this secretary are in denial of the fact. The fact is they sent false messages, including the president, denying that the country was going to fall. And now they want us to believe they simply didn't know until those last few days. Even after 85% of the country had fallen, they were still in denial. And then when it all turned into chaos, they act like it was a surprise. He didn't have any answers to any of that today, and it is still going on.
Well, Congressman, the sense is that they're playing politics with this because intelligence officials have been repeatedly saying to this administration it will collapse quickly. They started warning about that months and months ago. And now we've got three Republican congressmen, Lee Zeldin, Scott Perry, and let's see the other one. We have Joe Wilson saying, Secretary of State, you need to resign. Let's watch a Representative Michael McCaul. Congressman, I like your reaction to what Michael McCaul said. Watch this.
Mr. Secretary, the American people don't like to lose, especially not to the terrorists. But that is exactly what has happened. This has emboldened the Taliban and our adversaries. The Taliban, a designated terrorist group, now equipped with American weapons than most countries in the world. Just a few weeks ago, thousands of terrorists, the worst of the worst, were all released from prisons as the Taliban overran the country. The situation we find ourselves in is far worse, in my judgment, as a former chairman of Homeland Security Committee, far worse than pre-9/11.
Congressman, he's saying it's a failed jihadist state right now. Your reaction to the criticism of the Trump deal releasing 5,000 Taliban prisoners, but the Trump deal also had conditions on it. The Secretary of State seemed to be downplaying that deal today. Your reaction to all of that?
You know, when President Trump left office, Americans were not dying. We were providing air support to hold the Taliban in check in every position so they were not gaining ground. We had air supremacy, and that gave the Afghan troops the edge that they would have needed to hold this country indefinitely. And we were doing so with just 2,500 troops, 1/10 as many as we still have in South Korea. So, you know, to push it back on Trump with a successful program and then claim that somehow this debacle belongs to a man who left office 8 months ago when we were stable and, in fact, those forces were doing their job successfully without a single American dying is simply disingenuous. And I think that's what Ranking Member McCaul called out. But I think he also called out, and most importantly, Liz, we now have a terrorist state with $85 billion of advanced U.S. weapons that they can either trade, sell, or use around the globe. And they certainly will be doing that with many of the worst around the globe, including those that endanger our immediate allies in the region.
Now, former President Trump saying that Iran, Russia, China, the Taliban can reverse engineer our equipment and copycat it. China has been big on copycatting, too. Congressman, I'd like your reaction to Jen Wilson. She's COO of Army Week Association. She's helping to evacuate Americans. She says U.S. citizens are still trapped. Watch this.
Well, I mean, we haven't moved on. We've been working, 48-hour shifts with no sleep, literally with no sleep. I mean, we've basically had to roll up a private airline and a travel agency in a span of 3 weeks because we have over 20,000 requests for evacuation just through our website alone. And that's Americans, that's green card holders, that's NATO passport holders. There are I can't even count how many pregnant females that we're trying to evacuate. It's definitely not over.
It's not over. Congressman, can you elaborate on this?
Well, one of those pregnant women, an American citizen, is one of my constituents. We've been working with her, her husband, and her father. They were at the gate and were not admitted and were left behind. And no, there has not been a single U.S. flagged aircraft offered, and there has not been a consistent ability for her and her family to get out. And that's true across the board. As a matter of fact, even when people got out, bribing their way out over land bridges, as soon as they got into a neighboring country, the State Department then announced that they had gotten more Americans out. If you continue to take credit for that which you don't do, it's no surprise that you continue to have people like her who are frustrated because they're spending money that's being given by caring people to try to do what the State Department didn't do and still is not doing well.
All right, Congressman Darrell Issa, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it.